Hello, everyone, and welcome to this Ethereum London virtual event. Can everyone hear me? Just checking that the sound is okay. Great, perfect. I have the signal that it's coming through. So yes, hello, everyone. Welcome to this Ethereum London virtual event. We are maybe slightly late to the online events game. However, we made the decision during the lockdown that we would wait until things began to open up in order to start running things officially again. We're planning on getting back to the usual format of events in October, hopefully back at Imperial College. But in the meantime, are busy hosting an NFT gallery down at Rotate Bar in Shoreditch with a special London upgrade event happening tomorrow. All the details of that are on our meetup page, which should be displaying in the banner at the bottom there. So first of all, I wanted to give a quick thanks to John, who is Blockchase on Twitter, for helping us immensely to get this event running today, as well as Antonio and Jamie, who always seem to be working tirelessly to make so much happen for the wider community. I'll put up their tweets now. We are joined today by Thomas and Marius, Thomas is the founder of Nethermind, and Marius, who is on the Geth development team at the Ethereum Foundation. Welcome to both of you, and they will shortly be answering questions from the audience. This event is going to be mostly a community-led discussion from these guys who know way more than I do about the tech side of things. So please post your questions into the YouTube chat box, and our team will be passing them on to me to ask to the speakers. But first, I'll give a very brief high-level overview of what the upgrade itself is. So Thomas and Marius, please do correct me afterwards if I get any of the details wrong. So on Thursday at roughly 1 p.m. in the UK, the Ethereum protocol will implement 5 new long proposed updates. And these are going to be EIP 1559, which is fairly controversial, but the idea is to make more space for network transactions to go through, as well as making transaction fees more predictable by burning some of the fees used for executing smart contracts, which also makes Ethereum less inflationary, potentially deflationary, but that's another discussion. We have EIP 3554, which increases the difficulty of mining on Ethereum as part of the preparations for Ethereum moving to a proof of stake network, which arguably solves a lot of the environmental impact issues that a lot of people are asking questions about that come with proof of work networks. We have EIP 3541, which is again the first step towards a bigger set of changes, mainly to do with separating code from stored data. And for developers, this will mean that smart contracts won't be able to be deployed which start with 0xEF, as this will be reserved for the EVM bytecode. Then we have EIP 3529, which basically modifies how refunds work in the network, as well as, if I understand correctly, making certain tokens which aim to tokenize gas itself completely worthless, the argument being that these tokens just hog computational resources for speculation, but the others will be able to answer questions on that if anyone has any. And finally, we have EIP 3198, which is a companion to 1559. And this is simply a change which enables smart contract developers to be able to query the minimum price of blocks so that transaction costs can be estimated a lot more easily. And this is to do with fees being split into a fixed fee and an inclusion fee, which some are calling a tip, but that's a bit of a moot point as well. But anyway, now I will get out of the way and hand over to the experts and to the audience. So like I said, post the questions in the YouTube chat. So maybe we can begin with talking about some of the challenges there have been in the run-up to the upgrade. Thomas or Marius, who would like to go first on talking about that?
Maybe Thomas can start with the beginning of 1559. I think that's quite an interesting story. how it came to be, and then I can talk a bit about the last couple of months and the issues we had with 1559.
Yeah, sure. I mean, like I was learning a bit about the history of it yesterday myself, I guess, from the chat during another community call. So myself, I personally started working on it around May last year. But before that, I believe that it started as a set of proposals for Vitalik, probably in collaboration with other researchers, and on how to start introducing this idea of burning ether as part of the broader solution that smoothens the gas price behavior around the spikes, and generally improving the mempool behavior to be more responsive to temporary spikes in the transaction block space demand, and also to like bring the gas prices down at the time when there's no need for the block space. And that was picked up initially, I think, by Rick Dudley and his team from Vulcanize, and they were working on the initial Geth implementation, the prototype. And there some more discussion happened around it. I think somewhere at the beginning of last year, we started the work group. A work group where multiple researchers and core devs started discussing further implementations, modifications, and so on. And obviously, there were lots of like Ethereum magicians, if research, Telegram groups where it was discussed very widely. We have recordings of all of this. All of this was happening in the open, as always. And I think we started the Nethermind prototype very soon around that time. So with EIP 1559, like the very initial implementation is very simple. So it takes maybe a few hours, maybe a few days, depending on on the mood. But then it's all this period of testing, of adding some edge cases, of verifying if not only the mempool behaves properly in transaction processing, but also the JSON RPC, CLI tooling. I think that this was particularly a change where the community as a whole needed to react to everything and provide the tooling and user experience to match it. So I think that's the history from my perspective, and Marius can go much deeper in many other areas.
Yeah, I think that pretty good start on the history there. Yeah, I think one of the things we did way more with 1559 is community outreach. I know that Tim from the Ethereum Foundation, previously from BISU, was highly involved in 1559 and the beginning of 1559, and also he's been leading some outreach calls to all of the other the downstream projects, because the problem with 1559 is that it introduces a new transaction type. So in the beginning, we only had one type of transactions. You just send money to someone or call a smart contract. And already in Berlin, we introduced a new transaction type and a way to introduce new transaction types rather easily into the protocol. And we had to do that for 1559 as well. And I think that required a lot of the downstream projects to update their tooling to be able to verify, execute, and create these new types of transactions. So I think a lot of work was done there. Yeah, and then in the last couple of weeks, couple of months. Whenever we schedule the hard fork, we set certain dates for the test nets on which we test the changes first, which was also pretty new. I think we did it for Berlin as well. We create test nets that only have this change available. So we create new test nets to test the changes, and then we start rolling them out gradually over the existing test nets. And then there were several bugs that we found during testing on the testnets. Most of them were just minor things. So we had a lot of issues in the JSON RPC, which is not really it's not really critical to the network. It's just a small part of users would be impacted by that. And then we had one big issue, the Robston consensus split. So basically, after some time, we introduced, pretty late to the process, we introduced 3 assertions into the code. And Nethermind and Geth didn't actually implement those assertions, and Ethereum and Bisu implemented them correctly. So when one of the assertions was triggered, Nethermind and Geth, or Geth and Nethermind, basically created their own chain, while Ethereum and Bisu remained on the correct one. And the problem is on testnets that Nethermind and Geth have more miners running on them. So the incorrect chain was actually longer and thus stronger than the correct chain. So what we needed to do was, first of all, we looked for the bug and tried to find it, and pretty quickly discovered the bug, fixed it, created a new version, and then I had to let my computer running for 3 days, creating a new chain that would then overtake the incorrect chain to basically hard fork the network back into the correct state, because otherwise the testnet wouldn't be usable anymore, and we had to introduce another hard fork on a single testnet, which is pretty bad. But yeah, so in the end, it took, I think, around 4 hours to discover and fix the bug. And we really hope that it's going to be the last bug that we had in London. But we can of course never be sure.
Nice. I'm getting a question through around what is the expected effect, do you think, on the increased block size on decentralization of the network? Who wants to pick that one up?
I think I can talk about this one. So I wouldn't say that we have the increased block size expectation. So the EP 1559 does potentially extend the single block, any single block, up to 30 million, just to accommodate for the occasional spikes in the base fees. But the target remains 15 million. So if everything goes as expected, you should have on average the 15 million gas blocks, exactly like nowadays. And if you have temporary spikes that afterwards, just to bring base fee back to the levels which are normal long-term market equilibrium price for the gas price, you'll have to have the blocks that are smaller than 30 million, smaller than 15 million actually, which means on average we should maybe slightly higher gas usage in total. Should be no change at all. And as for the other changes, I think that because we have also the IPs on the refunds, so we expect that there'll be no gas token usage that we're hoarding that block space for releasing the storage later for the refund. So this should have in the long term positive impact on the size of the blockchain. It should be smaller because simply it won't be wasted for the ghost token usage. And other EIPs, I believe, do not affect the blockchain usage. I don't know if Marius, if you want to add something to this one.
Yeah, so I think this refund reduction is actually, it's pretty good in theory, gas tokens do not really increase the size of the blockchain because they get burned after a certain while. The problem is that all these transactions of creating those tokens and burning them, they have to be executed by everyone every time you sync a full node from scratch, and that's a really big problem. So it's especially a problem for archive nodes because they actually have to store each and every state in between. So if you create a lot of contracts and then destroy them again, all of these changes have to be stored by an archive node. They don't have to. They can be pruned away by a full node. But yeah, we believe that this nerfing of or like reduction of refunds and getting away with these gas tokens is actually pretty good for Ethereum and for decentralization in the long term.
Nice. Mo is asking, what will happen for staking rewards after EIP 1559?
Nothing really. So the staking rewards will be they are on the beacon chain. They are not yet available for the taking on the ETH1 chain. So nothing will happen to them. I think in the long run, when we switch to proof of stake, we can greatly reduce the inflation, the block reward, because we don't have to pay for we're paying for the security, but we don't have to pay for the electricity anymore. And so we can greatly decrease the block reward. And with 1559, that might even make Ethereum deflationary, because like a lot of fees might be burned. I'm pretty sure that the way it is right now, ETH is not going to be deflationary before the merge, just because we have a pretty high block reward of 2 ETH per block. So in order to be deflationary, ETH would the blockchain would need to burn at least 2 ETH in transaction fees constantly per block, and I think that's not really viable, and then I think that's not going to happen. So everyone who's going to tell you that ETH is going to be deflationary after London, I would take that with a grain of salt. And that's one of the problems. We cannot really test this on testnets. Because testnet Ether is just it's free, so we spend a lot of time sending transactions with a lot of ETH and burning a lot of ETH. I think I burned 20,000 ETH, 100,000 ETH, something like this. And of course, I would never be able to afford to spend that kind of money on Ethereum. So yeah. ETH might not be deflationary after London, but I'm pretty sure it will be deflationary after the merge.
Do you have anything to add to that, Thomas?
No, actually, this is spot on. So I was thinking maybe if I believe there was a tweet from Team Baker recently where it was a calculation of what would have to happen for the ETH to be deflationary. I believe that base fee would have to stabilize around 160 GUI, if I'm not mistaken. I can try to find it on Twitter, which is pretty high number. It's a good guessing game for all of us to say what will be really the stable base fee around. I'm expecting something between 10 and 20 GUI, but obviously there are also guesses about what miners will do with the fee, with the base fee. No, really looking forward to track it on any of the online available tools when we'll have the base fee moving.
So I was reading a discussion earlier today about how many ETH there are in existence. And I didn't realize that miners get rewarded, I think, if I understood correctly, for doing something with the uncle blocks as well. Is that correct?
Yes, both the creator of the block that became uncled and the miner that includes that uncle block are rewarded additional ETH after the uncle blocks appear. So we have something like 5% uncle rate on the network. 5% of the blocks have uncles on the network, and each uncle practically increases the reward by around like 0.8 ETH or something altogether, which means that instead of a 2 ETH reward for the block, we have 2.8. So every situation where you have uncles would require even more burning to do the deflationary network. So I think I agree with Marius. We won't see the deflationary Ethereum anytime soon.
So if I'm right in understanding, the currently miners get rewarded for that, and then also for being the minter of a block, but then also for executing the transaction fees. So how many of those things are going away as a result of EIP 159? Is it just the...
So
yeah, go on.
If you think on average nowadays, it's like 4 ETH per block that the miner receives, so maybe a bit less, like 3.5 to 4. I don't know if Marius has the exact numbers. And then probably majority of the reward from the transaction fees will be disappearing from the miner rewards, like it will be burned instead. And we should see just the miner tips being awarded to the miners. At the same time, we've seen in the last months the slow transition of the miners towards the MEV and focusing on those systems. And I think nowadays we see something like 0.1 ETH on average for the miners per block on an MEV, and this being around 10%, I think, of the rewards from transactions. So yeah, I think they will stay with around 2.5 ETH per block.
Nice. Yeah, I was reading a while ago the Flash Boys research paper about miner extractable value. How does conversations and technicalities around miner extractable value change as a result of this new upgrade as well?
So there was recently a research paper published by Alejo Zayas from Flashbots in cooperation with Christoph Gaja and other Flashbots team, which is worth to read because it shows what happens to MEV after EIP 1559, or maybe more like shows what happens to systems like Flashbots. And I think one great place to read also about the economical effects of EIP 1559 would be the Team Ralph Garden's research paper. It was like very, very detailed analysis that was commissioned by Ethereum Foundation somewhere like mid-2020. Yeah, I think this London upgrade was really showing a lot of preparation testing from various angles, like economical ones, the tooling, the also like the new quality of testing and fuzzing that Marius brought into the space. It's just amazing improvement, and on all the ephemeral test nets. So yeah, it's hard to test the economical assumptions, but there is a lot of research that can be found. Also, everything that Barnaby was preparing from their team, or they, I think it's research incentives group, something like that. It's like, I may have confused it, Rick. And they're doing a lot of economical analysis of both Ethereum 2 validators and EIP 1559, and that's definitely a recommended read for all of you. Some fantastic Jupyter notebooks with the agent simulations of what will happen to the network after the transition.
Nice. Marius, I think you wanted to say something about that as well.
Yeah, I think Barnaby, the economic research, economic incentive research group, I'm not sure, but they're doing pretty good work. I think they're also doing like researching layer two stuff, and I think yeah, we started talking a bit about what happens to MEV post 1559. I think the biggest change is that you cannot send zero gas transactions anymore. you always have to put at least the base fee in, otherwise your transaction is not valid anymore. So this makes MEV extraction slightly harder and slightly more expensive, but I think it's just like if you are an MEV searcher right now, you have to basically take a look at it, improve your protocols, improve your code, and then everything should work as normal. Yeah.
And here we go. Another question here. How likely, from Jamie? Hey, Jamie. How likely is it that miners will run their own competing fork, like Ethereum El Clasico?
So my opinion is it's very unlikely, but so the explanation is for running your own fork, you would have to have community support, because if you are a big mining pool with big hash rate support from the miners, if you do something that is very, very much against community, then the miners will simply switch to the mining pools that support the AP 1559. And we think there are less 2 or 3 mining pools that very clearly and openly said, we support this network, we stay with it because this is what core devs are recommending, this is what various researchers are recommending, and we go there, which means it will be really hard to do ever a hard fork without community support, and it just simply becomes a minority fork and maybe exists in the future. Marius?
So, there you go.
Yeah, so I think there's not a big problem of 1559. It used to be pretty controversial when it got announced and when it got first introduced, and miners also wanted to go on strike for a bit, which they turned out not to do. So I don't think we will see any problems tomorrow. We haven't seen any forks of Geth without 1559 that like proliferate to create a new network. It's always the possibility there, but I think with increased value and increased protocols working on and smart contracts working on Ethereum, we'll see less competing forks.
Good stuff. We have a question from Lucas. Are there any economic incentives to spam the chain when close to the base fee increase?
No, it's actually very expensive to spam the chain nowadays after EIP 1559. It's much more expensive than it was before, because in the past, if the miner would decide to, for example, mine the gas tokens, they could do that for free within a block. If they decided to do that nowadays to fill the block up to this like 30 million gas level, then they'll be burning a lot of money. And it increases very, very fast. So it's within a few minutes, it's already like probably around $1 million of spending to keep increasing the base fee. And also the base fee goes up like 40 times within 6 minutes if you keep pushing it. So yeah, it's actually solving this problem of spamming the network with something useless. You have to have the value, whoever you are, to keep pushing the blocks to be filled. So
for those who are concerned about their funds that they've put on Ethereum, can they feel secure that they'll be safe, or who needs to worry? Because obviously the question, or the point came up earlier on about certain gas tokens becoming completely redundant. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, so if you have gas tokens right now, you should burn them as soon as possible, because they are going to be valueless after the hard fork. I think the funds are as safe as possible. Of course, there's always a risk in implementing such a huge change, because 1559 touches a lot of like really integral parts of Ethereum. There's always the possibility of an issue coming up. If you want to be really, really safe, I wouldn't advise to do big transactions around the time for the fork, just because if something happens and we might need to do a quick hard fork or something, it could happen that transactions would be rolled back. But yeah, in general, the funds are safe. I've been doing everything that was possible to me to test this upgrade. I've been sending millions of transactions over the various test nets. I've been fuzzing all the different EIPs in this update. And if there's a problem, it will be figured out pretty fast. I think that's also what we've seen with the Berlin hard fork. In the Berlin hard fork, the Open Ethereum client had a problem, which was figured out in, I think, less than 6 hours, patched, and a new version was released. And then Open Ethereum clients could follow the chain again. And yeah, so I think we can always, if something breaks, we can always roll back the chain if the community agrees. So the funds are safe. Yes.
Nice. And for those who are doing things like yield farming, should they wait a bit of time, maybe like around 3 days? Because will the gas prices be lower by next week, likely?
I would say roll back the chain is a very controversial statement. I think before that would happen, we would have a really, really big conversation. So I don't think we're planning to roll back a chain or do something like that. I think the understanding is that the catastrophical failures would probably lead to some rollbacks being possible. So then maybe like for really huge transactions, like in hundreds of millions of dollars, it's something you should be very cautious around the fork. But yeah, there'll be probably many other ways to simply react to any problems on the chain. We did have this discussion of what happens if, for example, we have leading clients like Geth that mine majority of the blocks, creating things that are maybe not consistent with the initial spec. And it's very likely that we'll switch the spec and create additional network upgrade. Really, any rollbacks are the last resort that we never had to do on the mainnet, and that's very unlikely to happen.
Mm-hmm. Any more thoughts on that, Marius?
Yeah. So I think like one question that just came up in chat is whether someone should wait for 3 days after the fork, and what happens to the gas prices around the fork. So one thing that will happen is that everyone that sends pre-1559 transactions will be spending more money than they need to. So I think probably around the fork, the base fee will increase pretty quickly, and so yeah, I don't know if you want to be like if you don't want to spend too much money, I would just look at the chain and see if currently the base fee is like extremely high or if it's coming down. But yeah, basically try to upgrade your software as soon as possible to the new transaction type, because that guarantees you the least amount of fees paid, because with the old transaction you will overpay to be included in a block.
So I have another question around MetaMask and other wallet UIs. So yesterday I was asking, and I'm still trying to work out how this all works, because I come from more of a software background. So I'm trying to understand, how a software hard fork is different to a blockchain network hard fork. So one of the questions I asked was, if 100% of miners decided to go with, hypothetically decided to go with the new upgrade, then would that be an upgrade? However, if like 51% decided to not do that, would that be a hard fork? That was what I was trying to find out. But the guy on the research and development team over at Ethereum, it's up to the users to decide. And I was thinking to own nodes, it's which is chosen to be the chain is on the users, not on the actual miner. Is that a correct assumption, or is it a combination of both? And is that they are not, but to be there powering the whole thing? Is it the users or is it the miners who are the most important in the network?
So I had some technical trouble to understand the question. I'm not sure if it's just on me, but I think I get the gist of it. So
there's a bit of lag on my side. Sorry about that. Go on.
I think the question was it more about miners or the community deciding on whether fork succeeds or not? So obviously miners are the ones that can initiate the idea of the hard fork. But yeah, I think the social consensus and community is the one that decides in the long term. So just some majority of mining power is not enough to change the Ethereum and say no to everyone, because simply that chain doesn't get support from all the tool makers, from all the core developers, which means that the minority chain would quickly change to say, oh yeah, okay, so all the client implementations will reject the majority chain, or just focus on this one. And then it will be maybe it becomes interesting if you have miners forever deciding to never follow the community, but then the value would disappear from Ethereum very soon, and the miners would have no value anymore. So then they would start losing power, and but this is very unlikely scenario. I think they are all aware of this, and simply that's why, game theoretically, they wouldn't do that.
So someone is asking, let's see. So right now the low gas fee is 49 Gwei, which is painful. So a good plan is wait until the 5th update MetaMask, and then the gas prices should be lower. What do you think of that?
It's pretty hard to make predictions there. So we don't really know how congested Ethereum will be during the hard fork, how the base fee will behave during and shortly after the hard fork. It's pretty sure and it's pretty certain that it will reach a stable equilibrium somewhere in the future. But I'm not sure if how it might behave during the hard fork.
So a question from Jamie again. Sorry, I was having a bit of lag there, so I'm not sure whether you've answered this or not. Would you say that MetaMask and other wallet UI is going to change to accommodate EIP 1559?
Yes. So we had a lot of discussions about that with tool makers, with wallet providers, with the JSON RPC spec, because right now it's pretty easy to suggest a gas price, and in the future, suggesting the gas price becomes a bit harder, because you have to suggest the base fee, which basically tells you how fast you can be included, and then you also have to suggest the miner tip. And I think it's going to be difficult. A lot of wallets are looking at this. I'm not sure how MetaMask and others will decide in the end. What we have or what we implemented in Geth, and I think in some other clients, maybe Nethermind too, is the fee history API. Basically, instead of providing just a fee for a certain transactions, you actually give some kind of indication of how the base fee behaved during the last couple of days or couple of blocks, and then wallets can make a suggestion based on top of this new fee API.
Nice, yeah, because it will change from slow, medium, and fast, won't it?
Well, yeah, it's a question if MetaMask wants to change it in the UI from slow, medium, fast. I think what MetaMask what MetaMask can do is create something that says like inclusion in the next 3 blocks, inclusion in the next 6 blocks, inclusion in the next 8 blocks or something, which is a better UX.
Really good question from Fox. Wallets still will estimate the gas fee wrongly.
So the old wallets will continue to work because we still support the old transaction types. Also, the estimating gas, it depends. So estimating gas usage doesn't change, or really almost doesn't change, not in a way that would be related to AP 1559. So this remains the same. Estimating gas price as the cost. So this is exactly what Marius was suggesting. It's maybe slightly more tricky and will require a bit education over time, but I think as community learns exactly what the new base fee model means, also the wallets will learn how the users react, like what kind of UI the users react the best to. So we should see some period of maybe volatility of creativity on the wallets, and then some established way of using it.
Yeah.
Nice. Any thoughts on that, Marius?
Yes. And I think it will just be a bit higher. So old wallets will just estimate the gas a bit higher. Yeah, you will probably be included in the same blocks as with the new wallet design, but you will overpay for that. And so there's an incentive for you to switch to a new wallet which supports 1559.
Nice. I really like this question from Lucas. Do you have a favorite change in the hard fork?
I do. I think the preventing contracts with the 0xEF byte, that's EIP 3541, is a really cool change because it's like it doesn't really do much right now, but in the future it allows us to create specific types of contracts. So basically, this magic byte allows us to hard fork some specific contracts or like contract types into it, which could be used, for example, to have contracts that are checked for valid jump destinations during the initialization, which would make the jump test analysis. So basically, whenever you execute a smart contract, the node has to do an analysis of all the jumps that can be executed in this program, and this takes quite a bit of time. I think around 6% of transaction execution. I measured like 2 weeks ago. And so in the future, we might have contracts that are proven at run, like at deployment time, to be well-rounded, and so these don't require jump test analysis anymore, which would improve the speed for them quite a bit. And we can also do other types of contracts with this 3541 change.
Thomas, do you have any favorite changes?
Yeah, I'm the one consistently saying that EAP 1559 is my favorite. But I also appreciate the other changes, and I understand where they're coming from. And so the one that Marius was talking about, 0xDF, I see that lots of core developers see that as a symbol of improvement of the quality of the process, of like as core devs being able to plan for a few forks ahead. In a way, Berlin with 2718 was already this like a similar change that said, oh, suddenly we get a tool to make changes much better changes in the future. We can start introducing new transaction types, and then we do the same thing with the smart contracts and the code and the bytecode and tooling around the analysis of it, which can bring a lot of improvements. But yeah, EAP 1559, maybe it's simply too easy to say this is the favorite change, but I think it brings a lot of excitement and improvement in UX in the long term, even with some turbulence at the beginning, simply because of maybe some misunderstandings with the users. But there was lots of effort in education and testing and tooling and so.
Do you both have a stressful couple of days ahead, or is it going to be quite relaxed for you both?
I think that we are coming prepared. I mean, like I was talking today to Marek, who was leading lots of effort on Nethermind side for this fork, and I see like the level of preparation, which is based mostly on the effort from Marius and the testing team and all the work from Geth team in collaboration with other clients. So it's good to see that also as a team we've prepared for, like we've done the fire drills, we've prepared all the documents, how to react fast, how to react to any potential consensus issues. And one very comforting thing was like the last consensus issue after Berlin, we've seen all the client teams getting together on the call, supporting each other, helping, trying to solve the problem together. So this kind of cooperation among all the client teams is something that's very cool thing that you can rely on. So that's probably why there is less stress, more excitement than stress, I think.
And I think that in itself, is can give people confidence to continue using Ethereum. The community, even though sometimes it can seem like it's all over the place, it is a massive network of people all sort of aiming for the same goal, and we managed to pull things off. And I think like that's the beauty of it. Instead of sometimes when there's too much top-down control, it can cause more problems than when it's more like this. I have one question. We're going to start wrapping up. There were some great questions coming through, but we're going to have to start wrapping up because we need to finish on the hour. One of my biggest questions was it's quite a simple question, but how would you explain what a hard fork is to a 6-year-old?
So I think the term hard fork is pretty overloaded in blockchain terms. Like a lot of people refer to like splitting of the network as a hard fork. And that's not really like, that's a hard fork for me. Our network upgrades, although they are potentially hard forks, I would just call them network upgrades. I'm on vacation right now with like a lot of non-technical people, and I've been talking to them and saying, yeah, we have an update coming, and this update changes the rules of the system a bit, yeah, that would be my explanation for a 6-year-old. We have some adjustments that need to be done, and we're doing an update, basically.
I think update is a lot less of loaded language, isn't it? I think hard fork can sort of, especially when you're speaking to investors or business people, the word hard fork can sort of be a little bit intimidating. So I've actually started using upgrade as well as terminology. So Jamie's asking again, will there be another hard fork before the merge? I presume he means to ETH 2.0.
We don't know yet. So there is a hard fork scheduled for the end of this year, because we've been so one of the EIPs is pushing the difficulty bomb, which is a mechanism that forces miners to update their software after a certain period of time, and this pushes the difficulty bomb to December, I think, roughly December 2021. And so we will have another hard fork around December 2021. I know that Tomasz is pretty thinks that we can pull off the merge before that. I would be a bit less optimistical. I think Q1 2022 is the earliest we can do it. There might be another hard fork. We don't know yet if there's going to be a hard fork that just pushes the difficulty bomb, or if there is going to be significant changes, significant EIPs in that. There's an ongoing discussion about that. If you want to learn more about this and listen into these discussions, there's an all-core dev call every second Friday, which is live streamed on YouTube. So you can listen in and see what the devs are discussing scheduling wise, and whether to include EAPs into this hard fork or not.
Because it's just, if people were frustrated with updating applications on their iPhones or on their Android devices, it must be a heck of a lot more frustrating for those upgrading protocols, which many other things rely on. So the name for the next hard fork, I know Altair is the next one for ETH 2.0, if I understand correctly. What's the next hard fork name for ETH 1 before it merges into ETH 2.0?
It's Shanghai. So basically the hard fork names after Constantinople or Petersburg are now the locations where DevCon, the Ethereum Developer Conference, used to be. So it's Berlin, London, Shanghai, Cancun, Prague, Osaka, and Bogota. Hopefully Bogota end of this year, maybe next year. We don't know yet, but we're really looking forward to it.
Nice.
We can expect that the Bogota hard fork will be delayed.
Are they? Well, I was going to ask if they were named in order of the conferences that they happened, but hopefully, we'll see what happens with that. But did either of you make it down to ETHCC in Paris as well, or watch any of the streams?
I didn't. I was a bit scared because I wasn't vaccinated yet. I wanted to do a talk, but unfortunately there was a problem with the venue. So if anyone from the audience wants to hear my talk on how to interact with Ethereum using Go, we're going to do another live stream for that somewhere in the future when I'm back from vacation.
How about you, Thomas?
I had a pleasure to, like, for me, CC was a bit like there's this wrapper around pandemic, because I've been to the EFCC last year just when pandemic was starting, and then this year I managed to like rush my vaccination and get to France. And yeah, I've had the chance to give talks on like 3 areas that I work with. There's like Euler, Flashbots, Nethermind, ETH2, and so it was a fantastic conference. Actually, it was lots of opportunities to meet people, to learn at what's happening. You could see that people are just missing those events and wanting to explore the blockchain and just simply meet and talk.
So I'm going to speak as you mentioned, meeting other people. I'm going to take this opportunity to promote the NFT gallery that Jamie has done so fantastically of setting up, and thanks to James as well at Rotate Bar for letting us use that space for that, and to Known Origin as well. But yeah, we're running an NFT bar or NFT gallery in a bar in Shoreditch. So if anyone is, not super concerned about, well, I think we should all still be careful with COVID, but if people are feeling comfortable enough to come down, then definitely come down and see us there, especially tomorrow, as we have the second Ethereum London network upgrade, as some people are suggesting it should be called instead of hard fork. But yeah, come down, see that, meet some people, have some chats, have some drinks. Just to finish off, let's finish with looking to the future, because that's what this community does. Always trying to improve things and make everything better. ETH 2.0, when's that going to come? I don't want to put you on the spot. What are the challenges leading up to that? And how can the community help best prepare for that?
I think it's, as I said, I would be like, end of this year is highly optimistic, I think, especially because of testing. So I'm doing a lot of testing in Geth and fuzzing and stuff. I'm always like more on the cautious side, and we just have to face the facts. Like Ethereum it's a network of like 200 billion, I think. Yeah, it's $200 billion or something. So like introducing such a big change into this network just requires a lot of testing, and we can only do this once and get it right once. I'm currently, like, yes, as I said, I'm on vacation, so I was a bit bored and started implementing my own ETH2 client. So I just to get to know the ideas that they introduced, because I think the ETH2 and ETH1 teams were a bit separate, and in the last couple of months, especially, we had one hackathon where we prototyped a proof of stake testnet where you can actually send transactions, and so I think it's going to be cool, but it will also require a lot of more additional work. But yeah, we're on it.
Nice, good stuff. Right, well, I think we're almost at the end. I just wanted to say a big thanks again to you both for joining, and I'll just put your Twitters back up. Follow Thomas on Twitter and Marius on Twitter. Thanks again so much to John, who's Blockchase, and to NFT London UK for helping us to run the event. And follow ETH London on Twitter at ETH London. Subscribe to our meetup as well for upcoming events. And my Twitter is TimHC22. So, yeah, thank you very much, guys, and hope to see you again soon. And enjoy your holiday, Marius.
Thank you so much, team, for organizing. Thank you so much.
And thanks to Antonio and Jamie, who have been working behind the scenes to keep everything running smoothly. And ciao for now.
Bye.